Hello, and welcome to my channel, or welcome back. In today's video, I'm going to be doing a reading for you on what to expect in the month of December, and maybe some things that will happen to you in the material world, in your psychic world, how to handle these events, and just what you can expect. And I think December is an interesting time of year because we're kind of winding down and getting ready for this new beginning of the new year, and really maybe wrapping up some cycles or just reflecting on the things that we've done in the past year. And at the same time, like, the holiday season can be stressful sometimes, like maybe if you have some familial obligations, or maybe you can feel like lonely if you don't have people to spend the holidays with, or it could be a very jovial time where you're spending a lot of time with friends, and it's just a very exciting and action-filled time, yet at the same time winding down for the winter. Alright, so let's pull a few cards from this deck that I've illustrated myself. So first we have Mouse. So I get the sense that in the month of December, there's going to be something in your path that is a little bit like a trap. Like, you're really being lured out of your comfort zone by some sort of bait, like a thing that is most appealing to you as a mouse. I mean, actually, I don't know if mice actually eat cheese in real life. Like, I think you're supposed to feed them seeds and that sort of thing. But stereotypically, the symbol of the mouse wants the cheese the most. So it's this thing that you want the most is going to lure you out of your comfort zone, but there's a chance that you could fall into a trap. So it's really about kind of exercising your discernment and watching out for, something almost seems too good to be true. Really taking that time to really assess it from a distance and use your dexterity and cunning to try and avoid this trap. So I'm kind of curious, like, what could the situation be? Let's maybe pull another card to figure that out. Alien. Okay, so I think this is something that's completely new to you, and it could be a person who's new is coming into your life, and maybe this is what the trap is about, is that it's almost like you meet someone and it feels like they're too good to be true, and they're giving you this offer of something that's just like, wow, I can't believe this blessing has fallen into my life. But I think that there are some blessings that you can learn to accept, and some where it's just like, maybe this is kind of not actually a blessing, right? So I think if the blessing comes from someone who you really trust very well, and you can really know that they're a very virtuous person who's really acting from truth, then it's a good idea to accept this blessing, even if the blessing itself seems surprising or too good to be true. But when a blessing is being offered to you by someone who's alien to you, it's really hard to know their intentions or who they are as a person, and this is a time where you're more likely to be trapped or scammed or caught up in some sort of scheme. So these situations where it's someone you don't know very well offering you something, that's really when it's important to pay attention. Alright, and maybe let's pull a card on something else you can expect to happen in this month. Token. Okay, so I get the sense that you might have something that you already possess, and there's going to be a situation in the month of December where you will get to use it really well. And this could be something maybe internal to you, of like a skill that you've developed and you're finally getting to put it into practice. Or it could be like some sort of object that you picked up and you didn't really know why you were hanging on to it in the past, but now you're starting to realize, like, oh, this would be the perfect thing for this situation. So it could be something that you would need to use for a project, or it could be a gift that you're giving to someone. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, right? In the month of December, even if you don't celebrate Christmas, it still makes sense to just give people gifts. It brightens their day in these cold times. So maybe you picked up something where it wasn't something that you really treasure that much. It was just, you felt called to it, and just like, well, this is objectively kind of a valuable item, so I guess I'll hang on to it. But I think that in December you're going to realize someone who's really going to benefit from having this item, and it's going to be very important that you give this to the right person when the mood strikes you. Alright, and let's pull another card from this deck on something you can expect to happen in this month. Snap. Okay, so I get the sense that you will be spending time with people during this holiday season. Maybe in the past, if you've been someone who kind of got a little freaked out by the holidays and you really just kind of wanted to isolate yourself, or if you're someone who does usually like spending time with people around the holidays, I think this year you're going to really understand that the whole point of the holiday season is to spend time with people, and that this ritual of having a feast in the winter with people who you're close to, with your community, is really important. So maybe even if you don't don't have like a family to spend the holidays with or friends to spend the holidays with, maybe you'll find an event in your community that is going to bring people together and that you can maybe contribute to even. Like there could be something like volunteering at some sort of event where you're distributing food to the community, or maybe some sort of potluck that's hosted at a local business or something like that. And I think that this opportunity is really going to fill you with Christmas cheer and holiday spirit. When you take the opportunity to do something that will bring people together and will bring you closer to other people and make you feel more connected to the world at large. All right, now let's pull a little bit of tarot on what you can expect in this month of December. All right, okay, so firstly we have coming out the Four of Swords. And this is, I always have really liked this card. It's someone in a church who's lying in, it's like an open casket in a church. And there's the stained glass image here, right? Like I was talking about, is like charity is very important in this month. So maybe doing something where you're volunteering or giving to other people, especially if you feel like maybe you're not in the most secure situation. Like maybe you've been struggling with finances lately, or you just feel like you've been deprived of something and just like you don't have enough, that doing an act that is very charitable where you're giving something away to someone or you're donating your time or your energy will make you realize how much you really have and maybe put in perspective like how much you can give to other people. And I get the sense that there's a kind of reciprocal process here where when you're giving things away, it almost it brings in more things towards you and more abundance towards you. Because like I feel like really what this card says to me is that like we can't take it with us when we die, like no matter how much material wealth we amass, like once we're dead and gone, and you really can't bring any of that with us. But what we do get to leave with us after we die is like the people who we interacted with will speak fondly of us and will have made an impact in people's lives through our generosity. And I think that matters so much more than being stingy about saving a few dollars here and there and like not wanting to give back to our community, not wanting to do nice things for our friends. Like that is not going to serve you in this whole scheme of life, really. What you really need to focus on is like understanding that you have so much to give to the world. And even if you feel like you don't have that much in a material sense, you always have time and energy and attention to devote to a cause that could be beneficial to you and your community. All right, so then we have another card with the swords here. We have the Six of Swords. And this is really talking about like new beginnings. Like I was saying, is like you're leaving something behind, something in 2025, I think, that you're realizing you really don't want to bring into 2026. Like, maybe it did serve you in the past year or even longer before that. But I think especially it played a big role in this year. And I think it relates to like maybe also physically moving locations. So you might be going through a move, whether that's in your house or in your work or just in the places where you spend time. Where maybe if you were someone who spent a lot of time in environments that weren't really serving you, you're starting to realize like, you know what, I need to move away from this. Like maybe it was comfortable, yes, to be in these environments just because that's what I know. And maybe I know people who were there. Maybe I'm packing up the things that are most important to me, which in this card, is the family, and going on to somewhere where I'm better able to use my strengths, where like maybe these previous environments, they just didn't present you with an opportunity to really use your strengths so well. So maybe I'm thinking of something like a social group that you're engaged with where there's not really an opportunity to showcase your special gifts, or maybe something like a bar or a club where really the only thing you can do is kind of drink and party, which is definitely fun in moderation, don't get me wrong, but maybe an environment where you can really use those things that make you special, like your unique creative gifts or your intellect, or like maybe even your physical strength or physical abilities, somewhere where you're really showcased, right? Where maybe these previous environments almost kind of flattened everyone in the room to sort of being someone in the crowd, where I get the sense you're going to be moving into an environment where you can actually really be showcased and appreciated, and everyone in this environment is appreciated, and that's what makes it so special, is that you're moving into something new where maybe you didn't even think it was possible before, of like being in such a welcoming environment. And maybe it hurts to leave these things behind where maybe you did honestly have some good memories there, but you're just understanding that it no longer is serving your missions and your goals for this new year. All right. We've got the Queen of Swords. Okay, another sword card coming out. And so I feel like this is, again, like really about like making the right choice and really being able to look at your situation from maybe a slightly external point of view. Or maybe if you're really grounded in like who you are and like the story you've been telling yourself, is maybe you kind of think like, I am this type of person, so this is where I'll find myself in the environments of. But I think what this card is really trying to say is like, take this bird's eye view for a second and think like, okay, if I was writing a story, writing a book, and this was my main character, and I wanted them to get to this point, which is maybe you're imagining where you want to be, like what were the actions and like what are the situations that I would need to put this character in for them to be able to acquire new traits that would allow them to thrive in the situation, or just like move the plot forwards in terms of these next steps. Because sometimes it can be really hard when you really have your head down and you're really working and you don't know exactly what you should be doing, to really take this external view and just like understand that like you need to exercise your discernment and judgment. All right, then we have the Page of Cups. So I get the sense that maybe in order to move into this new situation in the new year, and like the actions you're going to take in the next month, there's some sort of person that you need to reach out to, or maybe someone is reaching out to you with a message and you need to be able to receive it. Is that there's going to be a new opportunity presented to you, and you need to really be either willing to receive this message or understand who the person is that you need to go to in order to maybe convey what you need right now. And maybe we could get a little bit more clarity on, you know, either who this person is that is going to contact you or that you need to contact, or what the situation is. All right, the Sun. So I get the sense that, again, this is like really something relating to a new beginning. And I feel like the person that you're going to need to speak with in this case is someone who is, you know what, a little bit new to you. So maybe coming back to this alien card where maybe I was a little bit thinking there's someone suspicious coming in. I also feel like maybe there's someone coming in who is quite trustworthy. And I get the sense that these are two different people, but you're going to be meeting new people in this month for sure. So I think with this person who's coming in with the Sun energy here, this is going to be someone who is maybe used to reinventing themselves. So I get the sense that this is someone who is maybe a little bit more developed in their career than you, is definitely very likely older than you, but at the same time, they have this sort of sense of youthfulness with them and like lust for life, this kind of zest feeling of this excitement that kind of gets you excited as well, and kind of ambitious too. Because I feel like maybe in your life there were times where you felt a little downtrodden and you kind of given up and you think it's only gonna get worse from here, like it's only downhill. And, you know, by the time that I'm this age, you know, in 20 years, I'm just going to be even more depressed and even more down in the dirt. But I think this person is going to change your mind, because you're going to see that you can still age with grace, and maybe these new opportunities and experiences that you have as you get older can almost fill you with a new lust for life and appreciation for the world that we live in. And I think that if you want to go through the similar experience of rebirth in the new year, it's important to see this mentor opportunity come towards you. Yeah, I think this is definitely a mentorship opportunity that is going to be opening up to you in the new year. And I feel like this is going to be something that is quite challenging for you to accept that it's coming into your life. And especially when it comes to like the work that you have to do to retain this opportunity. So I think like with the Page of Cups card, and I said it was like maybe you have to communicate with someone or they have to communicate with you. I think it's definitely like a back and forth where like maybe they're putting out this opportunity and you need to recognize it and seize it. And I get the sense that it's going to take maybe some sort of big step on your part, where maybe you meet this person and they kind of explain that they're open to a mentorship sort of relationship. And it's going to be up to you to really reach out and, you know, send that email, send that text, do that phone call that's going to say like, you know what, I think I'm the right person for this opportunity and I would really love to work with you. All right. And then we've got the Three of Cups here. So I feel like this opportunity that's coming in for you is going to involve quite possibly friendship, where maybe you're not the only person being mentored in this situation. Maybe it's almost like you're working on a project with people who are kind of like your equals in a sense, maybe when it relates to age or career progression, but that the person who's maybe giving you some wisdom or advice in the situation is this older person that I talked about. So I get the sense that you're working with people who you have a lot in common with, maybe on kind of like a physical level. Like maybe you almost can resemble each other in personality or even physically, where maybe people will kind of say like, oh, you guys seem like sisters or you seem like brothers, because you have so much in common. And I get the sense that these commonalities aren't just skin deep, that actually your approach to life and your approach to your work is actually really similar. And I think that's why you're going to work together so well. And I think that by working together, you're going to be elevating each other's potential and seeing each other's strengths. Because even though you have a lot in common, it's almost the fact that you have so much in common that you can better see what is unique about the other people in this dynamic. All right, let's draw a few more cards. All right. The Ace of Cups. Okay, so I get the sense that there's going to be some sort of overflowing energy coming in for you, moving into this new year of like, you're starting to realize that there's so many things you can do in the new year and so many opportunities being presented to you that it's really about like kind of diving into one and really figuring out like, what is one thing that I want to accomplish in 2026? Because there are going to be so many opportunities that you can't even expect. But if you don't set at least one goal for yourself, it's going to be really hard for you to like feel accomplished or like have some guidance in your life. Where if you have like one thing that you're working towards, it's going to be a really easy thing to just check off and be like, okay, I did it. I did that one thing that I was aiming to do, and it's really going to give you this rewarding sense in your life, but also kind of maybe set up like this longer term thing where like if it's a long-term goal that you have for the entire year, then it's going to give you a lot of time to sort of build up in those steps that you need to take to get to that goal. And honestly, you can be really ambitious with this goal. If you think about a year, right, you have 12 whole months. And, you know, in each month, there are 4 weeks, and each week there are 7 days. And that's actually a lot of time, right? So if you have this one big goal that seems like, God, that's like such an ambitious, crazy thing to do, you just break it down and you realize like, okay, well, to get to this goal, there's maybe like 4 smaller goals. And then each of those 4 smaller goals, I can make some incremental progress on, where like maybe each month I'm going to assign myself one goal to start working on. And then by the time it comes together at the end of the year, you've accomplished something really big that you never thought you could do. But the most important part is to have in mind what this goal is when you go into it and really dive into it wholeheartedly. Because if you are a little bit wishy-washy of just like, you know, there's so many things that I want to do, there's so many goals that I have, like you're not going to know where to start and you're not going to know how to break down that goal into smaller steps. So it's really about figuring out exactly out of all these possible opportunities, like what is going to be that one thing that I'm going to pour into. All right, let's pull a few cards on relationships in this month. So we talked a little bit about working relationships. Maybe let's pull a few cards on what your love life is going to look like in the month of December. Oh, strength. Okay, and the thing that comes to me immediately on seeing this card is like really like the Beauty and the Beast. Because it's like a woman who's kind of taming a lion, and she's not at all scared by the lion. She's really loving towards it. So I get the sense that maybe in your next month, you're going to kind of have a situation like this where maybe you're going to see the kind of animal side of someone and maybe like this kind of not quite violent but dangerous side of someone. And I think you're going to accept it lovingly and with strength, where like instead of being scared off by seeing this side of someone, to like lovingly accept it, and through that you tame the lion, you tame the beast. Because when you come and try and fight the beast, or if you run away, it almost feeds this beastly nature more, in which you're telling this person, yes, you are a beast. Where like, if you see this aspect of someone and you meet it with love, it's almost like showing them like, no, actually, you have humanity. And it also is a display of your own power and your own strength, to be able to say, you know what, I'm not scared by this, I'm not put off by this, and I'm really ready to welcome it with love and the understanding that we all have the side of ourselves in us. And in the sense, it will actually like help you to recognize those aspects in yourself and love and integrate those aspects too for you. All right, let's pull another card on love. All right, we've got the High Priestess. So I get the sense that when it comes to your feelings of love in this month, like there's this feeling that there's sort of a balance and a sort of a counterpart that you're understanding. Like maybe if you previously had this feeling of like, I want someone who is really similar to me in a lot of ways, I think you're starting to understand like that in some ways you actually want someone who's a counterpart, who's a little bit different to you, that is actually going to challenge you a little bit. And so I get the sense that when you're forming this relationship, it's not just about like interrogating someone to really figure out, like, you know, if you've ever been on a date and kind of been asked a barrage of questions where it feels like you're like on a talk show. Like, it can almost unsettle people and not allow them to show their true self. So I get the sense that when you meet this person and you're trying to figure out if they're your counterpart, or like if you've already met this person and you're just trying to see a new side in your dynamic that you could bring out, it's almost like to sort of let them talk. And, you know, with some prompting, of course, like if there's things you're curious about, but maybe kind of let them come to these things naturally instead of trying to think like asking these really direct questions about like, how did your relationship with your mother affect your approach to dating or something like that? Like that can just be a little bit too much. It's more like sitting back and using this skill that you have for kind of reading deeper into things and seeing the subtleties in things and sensing really subtle energies that will actually help you form this love relationship. All right, and let's pull one more card on love. All right, we've got the Moon, and this is really interesting because it mirrors this moon in the High Priestess as well. So with this, and it's cute because it's the two wolves howling at the moon. I think that's so sweet. It's really gonna be something where like you're again like settled into this kind of like calmer, receptive energy when it comes to love, instead of this really active feeling of like I need to plan dates, I need to go out, especially, you know, as it gets into winter, as it gets cold in the cuffing season, all that. Like you're really starting to understand that sometimes what helps love grow is actually like peace, calm, patience, and this feeling of kind of letting things progress on their own, where honestly, you know, it does take effort in a relationship to make it work, but there's almost this magical quality that feels like you're planting a seed and letting it grow over time, and that maybe not necessarily just like trying to do active things to develop your relationship will actually take it to the next level, but just kind of sitting back and letting it progress in this really natural fashion, and like not trying to be like this grasping quality of like clawing and trying to ensnare someone, but to really have this feeling of simpatico where like, you know, maybe you don't even need to be together all the time, but you're both howling at the same moon at night, and in this way your relationship is progressing even when you're apart. And again, with this card with both the Moon and the High Priestess, there's the two pillars, and it really feels as if you're both acknowledging each other's individuality in this love connection and your own strengths and your own ability to stand on your own. Like, I don't think that this is going to be a codependent relationship, even though, like I said, like in the winter months you might be trying to get cozy with someone. It's not codependent at all. It's really about being in each other's presence so that you can appreciate each other's individual gifts and talents. All right, so let's pull one card to close out on this chilly, chilly month and what to expect. All right, so we've got the Two of Pentacles, and this card is really about like you really have this like choice to make, and like an infinite amount of choices really is like giving you the sense of optimism going into the new year of like you can do whatever you want in this year, but the thing is you just do have to decide and really understand like what is going to be good for me. Like maybe having this idea of like the material goals that you want to achieve, and that will help guide you more towards like the decisions that you need to make on like a psychic level. And I also think like there's an element of playfulness to this too, of like kind of being able to juggle different things and understanding that you have all these different gifts that may be engaged at one time or the other, and being a little bit of playful about it is really what helps you utilize these gifts. So instead of having this feeling of rigidity and being really like locked down into one thing, you're kind of flowing with it and enjoying yourself. Yeah, so that's the message for this month, and I really hope you enjoyed watching this video, and I hope to see you in the next one.